Very tough act to follow when I'm right after Anita, of course. However, we do have a couple important things to talk about, right? Because in Anita's speech with y'all noticed the commonality as far as talk about team members, right? Celebrating team members. The most important part is being a part of the TFAD team. Because without all of you, all of us, it would be impossible to accomplish the things that we must. So as a team, we looked at a couple things on how can we really help provide the tools and necessities that everyone needs to be able to do their job and actually feel like a part of something. So one of those things that we did work on, it really is a two-phase approach, right? So we stood up Force Learn, and Force Learn, the first phase we completed just a couple months ago, and that's for managers, because there's a very important part of the people that impact others. And we found that with management and supervisors, it's very important to give them the proper tools to be able to do their job. And not only to make it to where it's possible for every team member that works for them or with them to learn, but also to make sure that managers and supervisors understand that every day you learn from each other. And really that's what the Force Learn is about. We cover some requirements that are necessary, but in the end is teaching people how to treat others like people and understand that really our only asset, which is our greatest asset, of course, is every single one of you, every team member. It's very important for you not to have your time wasted and also to actually be given some good direction and also feel that you're heard when you have a recommendation on how to do things better. So we feel that it was successful, the first cycle of the Force Learn. We're not going to stop there, though. There's a couple more phases coming up. We're actually going to stand it up and go to supervisors and then look at how we can expand even further for the training as well. And that's all based off a lot of feedback as well that we have received and heard in regards to, well, how do we properly train people instead of just promoting and not giving them the necessary tools to do their job, okay? The second phase that we've looked at, right, because really you got two big phases of team members and your life cycle at the Forest of Duke. You got the beginning phase where you have to feel welcome. Then you got, of course, what we talked about during the leadership when you're working here, right? How you are treated during your time at the Forest of Duke. So now the next thing that we did was we stood up an orientation program that's called basically Day One, which is your first day at the Forest at Duke, right? That's where you receive orientation. We give you very important information, every single team member. But more than that, as we're giving information, we make sure that we explain that team is not a buzzword at the Forest at Duke. Team actually means something to us, right? We teach that we have to be able to rely on each other, because when we're working together, it's impossible to get any task done alone as a single person. And then we make sure that we, of course, reiterate a lot of important parts, such as getting the benefits started and everything during their first day. And they learn a lot about the Forest of Duke. But most importantly, also, they meet people that are giving them orientation, as well as they meet each other that are at the orientation. So therefore, the first day, it's not just thrown into the mix and told, hey, you should know what to do. That's not the right way, right? We actually welcome people properly, let them get familiar with people, give them the tools that they need to begin. Day two is the department orientation. So there, they should be received by their department and get familiarized and oriented with what they have to know for their area of their job. And then that's where they meet the more specific team members, which is the most important, to actually get to know them as well. And then there's a wrap-up. The wrap-up day is day three. So this is something really new that we have brought into the orientation process as a team, where at the end of the month, the last Friday of the month, we actually set up tables, and every single team member that has gone through orientation that month, that the leadership team, we have 2 directors at each table, and Anita's sitting there with me, And we don't do a presentation, right? We don't shove any information down people's throats. We're simply there to welcome every single person that is new to the team, and then we discuss with them, get to know each other, and they get to know about us. Then they feel welcomed, and we see how their first month has been at the Forest of Duke. And make sure that aligns with our values and what we do and what is our purpose. And then that has been received very well, because the whole point is really to bring everybody together as a team, make sure people feel welcome, give a good start. But the reason that we mention this to y'all is we need every single team member at the Forest of Duke to continue that beyond orientation as we welcome and orient our new team members into us, okay? All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you for watching. It's very good to see everybody. I was told that I needed to make this presentation exciting and enthusiastic. So I'm letting you know this is me, exciting and enthusiastic. I'm not kidding. I'm excited to talk about the Forest Words of Purpose. I know sometimes that might be a little bit hard to tell with me, but I am very passionate and excited, and I wanted to clue you guys in on that. So what exactly are the Forest Words of Purpose? Well, they're not just a series of words that we've put out there for the sake of having something to share. They were born out of a desire to discover, understand, and define what sets us apart as an organization. What makes the Forest different? What do we stand for? The Forest Words of Purpose are the core values that describe and differentiate us from other companies. They're the words that help us shape our purpose and define our culture. The words are not arbitrarily chosen. They stem from our collective beliefs and actions. At the end of the initiative, our goal is to have identified four forest words of purpose that capture the essence of who we are and what we aspire to be as an organization. These are the words that should roll off your tongue when people ask you about your workplace at the Forest. So why are we doing this? We started this initiative because we wanted to be different and better. We want to give people a reason to choose and keep choosing the Forest. To achieve this, we first needed to understand what we stand for. What is our purpose? What do we want our culture to be? And who better to tell us than all of you, our team members who live and breathe the culture of the Forest every day. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. 1,000,000 years ago, in another life, I was a contract nurse. I immediately would know the culture of any hospital that I walked into. Was it clean? Were the staff friendly and welcoming? How did they treat their patients? How did they treat their team members? Did they have high standards? I distinctly remember a nurse supervisor pulling me into her office because as a contract nurse, when you get to the hospital, you would typically report, in 1,000,000 years ago, you would report to the nursing supervisor office and you would get your keys and you'd be told where to go. I distinctly remember one hospital and one nurse supervisor looked at me and she said, "We don't take shortcuts here." Basically, it was, "I don't know you, contract lady. I don't know what you've done. I don't know how you did it, but in this hospital, we don't take shortcuts." So the culture of that hospital was that they had great standards. And they not only talked that talk, but they walked that walk. It was apparent in everything that they did. So I still remember that to this day. And that's what we're looking for with the Forest Words of Purpose. With your input, they're helping us define the Forest purpose and its culture. Our first word we explored was kindness. It is the foundation on which we want to build our culture. And if there's one thing that the Forest is known for, is that we're pretty kind and welcoming people. Over the past few weeks, we've engaged in various activities centered around kindness, and these activities taught us that kindness is more than just a nice word. It's an actionable value that can transform our experience in the workplace. We saw more smiling faces, more kind interactions, and a general boost in morale. It reminded us that simple kindness can help create an environment where everyone feels valued and respected. As we move forward, our next Forest Word of Purpose is community, starting on July 11th. The word is incredibly significant because it speaks to the heart of our collective experience at the forest. Residents, team members, and everyone else we come into contact with. And don't forget, the forest is a part of a larger community. How are we viewed within that larger community? Are we good neighbors? We want to hear from you. What does community mean to you? Is it about support or shared goals? How do you see the community within the forest? And more importantly, how can we improve it? By exploring the word community, we want to strengthen bonds and create a supportive environment where you want to return every day. We spend so much time at work. It needs to be a place where you feel safe and have a sense of belonging, because we can only be successful as a community together. Lastly, the Forest Words of Purpose initiative is a journey of discovery and improvement. It's about listening, learning, and growing together. I encourage all of you to participate, share your thoughts, and let your voices be heard. Together, we can define what community means to us and how we can embody this value in our daily work lives. Thank you for your time and all you do every day. And remember, this was exciting and enthusiastic.
We can dance if we want to.
No, we won't dance if we want to. At least I won't. You certainly can. Good afternoon again. Thank you for being here. Thanks to those of you who are looking in on our Zoom, who may watch this later. Shout out to Community Services. If you're in the room, Community Services, make a noise. All right, you got to represent me better than that. Make a noise! All right. Whoever's left, make a noise. All right, very good. Real quick, I was leaving to come out to work the other day, and of course, as you know, it's been very hot. And I made that comment to my wife. I said, "Now, it's going to be another hot one." And she looked at me very serious, and she said, "Well, there's two rules in dealing with this kind of heat." She said, "Number one, got to drink lots of water." I shook my head, "Yeah, okay." She said, "Number two, you got to watch how you speak to me." So take that with you today. Start with your significant other, and then everyone around you. Remember how you speak to each other. So I'm going to talk about construction, specifically the connections that are going to be made not only to the community center, but to the health center eventually when the terraces go online. And that work will start in mid-August. It will occur right behind this wall. The auditorium will be able to be accessed much of that time. There will be about a week, maybe two, somewhere around Thanksgiving, if the timeline holds true, that we won't be able to access this auditorium because they will be doing flooring work right outside the door. The most impacted departments and areas will be the maintenance department, which is down on the level below us right now, the HR, which is right next to maintenance, the Encore store, which is also along that corridor, and the art studio, which is at the end of this corridor. After it's all done, new hallway, office spaces, and storage will be done in the area. And I've got a couple of pictures, and I'll try to walk you through what's going to be impacted. So the red lines are temporary walls to separate the construction areas. One wall will be right outside to the right as you walk out of the auditorium, and it will blockade that hallway from Greenwoods down. We will still be able to access Greenwoods and the auditorium, but we won't have access to that back door of the auditorium. That will be in the middle of the construction area. As you go down the hallway towards where the hair salon used to be and the hub where a lot of offices were, past the bathrooms, there will be another temporary construction wall right outside of Jeffrey and Aaliyah's office. They will be able to access their office, but the wall will be right there. So that corridor to the kitchen will be blocked there at Jeffrey's office. You won't be able to get out into the hallway. And those bathrooms, of course, will be non-accessible during the time. And then last but not least, there will be another construction wall down just past security's office next to the janitor's closet right there. So, in the meantime, we will, if you're going to access that end of the building, and again, this will impact residents who use the art studio, the team members who work in HR, maintenance, Ruth and Emily, who have offices at that end of the hallway. You will have to go through Greenwoods, pop out in the kitchen, hang a right turn, and then pop back out into the hallway, and then go outside on the loading dock and come in the entrance there at security. Those are security access doors, so you will need a fob or your ID badge to access, okay? If you don't need to go up and down and back and forth, I encourage you not to. Going outside on the loading dock, we will make every effort to keep it unpopulated and as clean as possible. It is a loading dock. There is a trash compactor out there. So I would encourage you to think twice before you tell me it stinks outside. It does. On certain days, it's worse than others, but it is where our main trash for all the campus on this side goes to. So sometimes it is very aromatic outside. Okay? Anyone have any deep questions? All right. Thank you again for being here, and watch how you speak to each other. Thank you.
Yeah, next up, we have a couple people here for the You Can Vote contacts. So that way give you voting information, and it's really good information I have to put out. So welcome. Oh, I thought we already got,
You already got some?
yeah. That was given
That
to
was
us
it?
by Sarah. No, next.
Next
That's it? Oh,
That's it. I've got 10 minutes, but I.
okay, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, I'm just going to set this up, and folks are passing around the fridge card, our #1 education piece for Election Day for voting. Can I put a USB in?
And then we'll just want to share the screen again so that the folks on Zoom can see us. This also isn't lit up, so I'm worried that it's not seeing it.
I can just wing it if I need to.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
I don't need a clicker. I can just do that. I'm so sorry, y'all. So has anybody seen any commercials about voting happening this year? We're not here to talk about those commercials. Thankfully, we're here to talk about North Carolina elections and local elections, our favorite subject here at You Can Vote. I'm Kate Fellman. I am the founder and executive director, and I just have a few things I want to go over to make sure that you and your family and your loved ones are prepared for what's coming up, because there has been a lot of changes. Last time folks may have voted, it was a pandemic, right? So now we've got new rules, we've got new offices, and I just want to make sure that you're all ready to go to make your vote count, and not get stuck in line or anything like that. So that will, let's see, do you guys? Let's do that. Web browser. Sorry. Look at this. Look at this. There we go. Cool. No, you want to share the screen again? Yeah. Sorry for the technical delay. This is Tana, and she is one of our new team members. I love hearing about welcoming team members, so welcome Tana to You Can Vote, and she will provide Spanish language help for anyone who might need information in Spanish. So we're going to just talk about really quickly about a nonpartisan voting guide. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so we never tell anybody who to vote for. We just help you understand how to vote and make it count so that you are not, stuck in line or, surprised on election day. So basically, everybody knows that there's a presidential election this year. Some people know that it's all of Congress and it's the governor, but what we really like to teach at You Can Vote is how local elections really impact you, your community, and can have much more of an impact on than those national elections. So it is all on your ballot, is what we like to say. So I know a lot of folks here care about health care. And so people we are electing for health care this year include our county commissioners right here in Durham that fund our health and human services, and our North Carolina legislature, who also funds the counties, and then Congress. So we like to take it from local up to federal and talk about where locally, if you're not excited about the federal candidates and the TV ads, where you can get excited about making your voice heard locally on your local issues. And we have a tool on our website that you can link to on this card that we provide, that you can see just how the offices and the duties and the responsibilities have to do with each issue that you care about. So the local races, like I said, we have a local school board, we've got local register of deeds, we've got some mayors and city councils, not here in Durham, local water and soil conservation. A lot of people get surprised at the end of the ballot. That's something we vote for, so if you care about the environment. And then the clerk of courts, who appoint magistrates that deal with trial court, custody hearings, and evictions. So I like to focus people on the local races. And then state, our whole state of North Carolina, each NC House and NC Senate member is up for re-election, or each district is up for election. Superior Court judges, district court judges, Court of Appeals, North Carolina Supreme Court, and then our Attorney General, and then the Commissioners of Labor, Insurance, Agriculture, Superintendent of Public Instructions. Do we have kids in public schools and our families? That's a really important job with a $11 billion budget. It's huge. And then, of course, our governor and our Secretary of State. So really important local and statewide elections that'll directly impact you and your communities. And then, of course, the one we hear the most about is Congress and the president and vice president. North Carolina does not have a U.S. Senate race this year. So I really encourage you to go to our website and kind of play around with what offices do. Whatever issue you care about, we list the offices that impact that issue. And I have some tools in the back that can show you that as well. So you should all have a fridge card, and we really want you to do two things with this card. First of all, mark these dates, because early voting is starting October 17th. We are 100 days away today from early voting for 2024. It's almost over. That's what I keep telling us, it's almost here. And then general election day is November 5th. And there's a difference between early voting and election day voting. You can vote early at any early voting site in your county, if you're a registered Durham voter, you vote at any early voting site in Durham, Wake County, the same, or election day. And for election day, you have to go where you're registered. And guess what? Your registration doesn't follow you when you move. And so we run into a lot of folks who said, yeah, I voted, I'm registered, I'm fine, I'm good. But then when we look them up using this QR code, they're either not on the registration rules or they have moved. They're like, well, I'm not in Charlotte anymore. I live here in Durham. So making sure that you're registered where you live and where you're going to be this fall so that you don't accidentally wait until Election Day and can't drive 2.5 hours to go cast your vote in your polling place. So everybody should confirm that you are registered where you want to be. And the great thing about this tool is it takes you to the State Board lookup site, and you can find your districts, your Election Day polling site. You'll be able to find your sample ballots there. So we always encourage you to check yourself out and encourage everyone else to make sure they're registered where they want to be in November. And so right now, feel free to look yourself up. This is a train and do. So look yourself up. Make sure. Some people are really surprised when they look themselves up and they are not registered where they think they are. So this is what we're telling the whole state. If you talk to anybody about voting this year, you don't have to talk about candidates. You don't have to talk about anything. You can just say, look yourself up. Make sure you're ready. That's at the stage we're at right now. Make sure you're just ready to go and ready to have your vote count. So anybody surprised who've done this exercise if you're not registered where you think you are? All right. Well, also I want to make sure that we know there are new rules for voting with or without ID. So if you have one of these state-issued IDs, bring it with you when you vote. Nobody wants to go back and have to show ID if they forget it. When you forget your ID, if you don't come back and show it, your vote won't count. So if you have one of these IDs, which most people do, bring it with you. Don't forget. Nobody wants to vote twice. And if you forget it, there is an exception form. You can just say, or if you don't have one, if you say, there's an exception form, I don't have it, I lost it, it was stolen, I applied for it at the DMV, but it hasn't arrived yet. So if you don't have one, there is a way to vote. Don't let that, make you stay home and think that you're not allowed to vote. So vote with or without ID. If you have it, bring it. If not, use the exception form. And so does anybody here have any questions about being a registered voter in North Carolina? I've gone very quickly because I realize we're in a time crunch, but I want to make sure folks saw the eligibility. There's a lot of confusion because eligibility has changed multiple times over these past couple years for North Carolina voters. So you are eligible to vote if you are a U.S. citizen. If you are 16 or 17-year-old, you can pre-register to vote, but as long as you're 18 by Election Day, November 5th, on or before November 5th, 2024, you can vote and get registered. You have to be a North Carolina resident and live at your address for 30 days before Election Day, November 5th, and not currently serving a felony sentence, including probation and parole. This has changed a couple times. So as long as folks are off papers, they're not currently serving a felony sentence, they absolutely can register and have the right to vote. And I always tell folks, just think of it, there are folks in jail who are just awaiting trial, serving a misdemeanor. They are eligible to vote until they are convicted of that felony sentence. And after that, they won't be eligible until they're completed with the terms of their sentence. So that's the rule around felony eligibility. So a lot of folks tell me that they can't vote, but it's because of things that aren't true on this list. They say, I can't vote, I don't have an ID. Is identification a requirement to vote? No. Okay, so these are your rights. This is everyone who has the right to vote. And like I said, on the back side of the card, if you have an ID, just bring it with you because we want to make sure it's not a hassle and you don't have to go back and show it. So are there any questions that anybody has for me? Because we've got helpers here who've got more materials, we've got more ballot education materials, and on our website, youcanvote.org, on our voter guide, at the beginning of August, we are going to have nonpartisan candidates side-by-sides because everybody says, Kate, I don't like anybody who's running. And I said, do you know there's going to be 40 plus people on your ballot? You're not going to like any of those people? None of them? So go down ballot and do your homework. We have a nonpartisan guide where it does research on every single office, every single candidate, and you can build your ballot. And you can vote. Is this nonpartisan? Yes. And we make sure, because we are 1,000% nonpartisan. So use our voter guide, use our ballot guide to build and see what people are planning on doing, who want your vote, who want to earn your vote, to help solve the problems for you and your community and the things that you care about. So that is a new service that we're providing, and that will be live, like I said, after August, because in the first week of August, because there's a few last-minute candidate filings that are coming for soil and water. There will be some constitutional amendments on your North Carolina ballot as well. And so there might be a few more added. So we'll know everything by the first week in August, and we have all the tools and resources to just share on our website so that you can pass this forward. We really believe on passing this forward, election information coming from a trusted individual to your friends and your family from a trusted source is what is so needed right now. And so that's what we provide for you to be able to help yourself and others. So I am going to stop talking and let Tana do a quick little announcement in Spanish, and then you can come and see us in the back. We've got plenty of clipboards. We can get you registered in 2 minutes. It'll just takes 2 minutes to go through the form. So one question right here.
It's not a question, but before you go forward, I want team members to know that if you're in Durham, when we do early voting, we do make provisions for staff to go vote, and they can do that. You just have to make arrangements with your supervisor, but we'll do that transportation to a local place. So that's one thing that we do. We can help you outside of the county of Durham. And that certainly we can make accommodations to ensure that. And if you're not registered, it's really painless.
Yeah.
And it is something that you need to do today while it's easy. You don't have to go anywhere.
We'll save you a stamp, we'll save you from going to the Board of Elections. And like I said, some people, when they say, well, I don't know if I want to vote, I don't know. Well, get registered so you have the option. If it comes to November 4th and you decide, oh, I really want to vote, it will be too late. The registration deadline is October 11th. It'll be too late to decide on November 3rd or 4th if you want to vote before Election Day. So get registered, make sure that you're ready to cast that ballot in North Carolina, and if you decide, you know what, I don't like any of these 40 people running for my vote, you don't have to do it. But we really encourage you to make your voice heard this year. There's going to be a lot of folks out here asking for your vote, and if you participate, it creates this lifetime habit of going and voting and being part of our community of civic engagement.
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Hay alguien que prefiere comunicarse en español? ¿Alguien? ¿Nadie? ¿Todos hablan inglés? Pues si hay unos, pues podemos comunicarnos nosotros, sí, porque hay pocos. Entonces, no voy a hacer toda la presentación que ha hecho Kate en español, pero sí podemos platicar después.
Thank you so much. I had one more question, and then we're going to break away to registration. Okay, that's a great question. Expired IDs. If you are over 65 and your ID expired after your 65th birthday, you can use that ID to vote. It can only be expired up to 1 year if you're under 65. And that's all on that material we have, the little card. It has all the information about what IDs count. And yeah, so if you have questions, I'll be right back there in a second. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us, and we're happy to answer all of your questions here in the back.
I would encourage you all to do that, but before you leave the room, and I can see you out there in the back, but if you leave, you're going to miss, yes, oh tall one. You are going to miss something good, because if you go register to vote, the other thing that's going out is that there is an ice cream truck out by the community center, Porte Cochere. And so we've arranged for you all to have an ice cream treat now that it's 152,000 degrees. But I would encourage you, and it is really important, vote. I don't care who you vote for. I do care that you vote. Your voice is important. People fought long and hard so that everybody in this room has an opportunity to vote, and I would encourage you, we will support you in the ability to go do that, but never let anybody take your voice. That is part of what it is to be a person in this country, is that we can vote, and we all have a say. So I encourage you to do that, and then I encourage you to go get ice cream. And thank you very much for your time today.